Welcome to Faith 7 Business. Welcome to the place where faith meets strategy, where your divine calling fuels your business mission. Hello leaders, entrepreneurs, and kingdom warriors. Welcome to Faith 7 Business, a space created for those who aren't just chasing success, but who are ready to transform their business into a tool of blessing, impact, and eternal purpose. Here, we don't just talk about revenue, we talk about calling. We don't just discuss strategy, we align with obedience to the one who called you into the marketplace as a kingdom ambassador. Because you're not just a founder, you are the called. You're not just running a company, you are stewarding a piece of heaven's plan. Bullseye today's topic: faith, the power that overcomes crisis. Friend, have you ever felt like you're steering your business through an unrelenting financial storm? When markets shake, contracts freeze, and team morale wavers, you wonder, am I failing? Is this a sign I should give up? Don't close the book just because the chapter is hard. Because today, we're diving deep into a powerful truth. Right finger, how do you hold fast to faith in the middle of crisis? Right finger, how do you make decisions not driven by fear, but led by vision? Right finger, and most importantly, how can you not only survive, but rise stronger through the very storm that tried to break you? So tighten your grip, because what's coming will ignite your faith, expand your vision, and make you want to leap into action. Ready? Let's begin. ITH and finance, strength in the storm. The crisis and the fear on the financial battlefield. There are times when the financial market feels like a midnight storm, no light, no direction. Headlines scream of bankruptcies, interest rates flip, and stocks plummet like kites with severed strings. Every morning, investors, business owners, and CFOs wake up with a heavy heart, standing at the edge of a cliff, haunted by one question: how much more will I lose today? But the greatest loss isn't money, it's losing faith. When faith wavers, decisions distort, people start panic selling out of fear, slashing budgets out of doubt, freezing plans because they can no longer see the future. Fear creeps not only into financial charts, but into family dinners, into the eyes of employees, and into the restless sleep of every leader. In that storm, there is only one anchor strong enough to hold the wheel steady: faith. Warren Buffett once said, "Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful." But how do you muster the courage to be greedy, or more accurately, to invest boldly, when the whole world is trembling? That courage doesn't come from data. It doesn't come from economic forecasts. It comes from something higher, a deep conviction that every crisis carries a hidden opportunity. If only we still hold on to faith. Faith is not blind. Faith is a second sight, the vision to see potential in the shadows, to see a harvest even when the seed is still buried and decaying in the ground. While others shrink back, you can be the one who steps forward. While companies retreat, you can be the one who leads, builds, and innovates. Because your decisions aren't born from fear, but from faith. God's word on wealth. In the midst of a financial storm, when every headline bleeds panic and the numbers blaze red like fire, there remains one unshakable truth: a divine promise from above. But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the power to get wealth. Deuteronomy chapter 8 sentence 18, NIV. It's not the market, not the government, not the hedge funds, financial tools, or the NASDAQ index. It is the Lord. He alone gives you the strength, the insight, the opportunity, the energy, and the grace to build wealth according to His will. This verse is not merely a word of comfort, it is a life strategy, a spiritual map in the middle of crisis. If you look only at circumstances, all you'll see is risk. But if you look through the lens of faith, you'll see opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more prosperous. God is not limited by the economy. He is the creator of every resource: gold, land, opportunity, and even million-dollar ideas. He is untouched by inflation or interest rates. And more importantly, He never breaks His promises. He is faithful. If He has declared that you will prosper, then no matter how fierce the storm, prosperity is still coming, like the dawn after the longest night. Wealth doesn't come from hoarding, but from flowing, and God is the greatest source of flow. Craig Groeschel. Reflect deeply. If you truly believe this, would you shrink back? Or would you rise? You would move forward, you would invest, you would restructure, you would innovate, you would inspire your team. Because you'd know, you are not walking alone. You are walking with the one who created the entire universe. Faith-based financial stewardship. In times of uncertainty, it's easy for fear to drive every decision, cutting back, shrinking down, freezing all plans. But for those who place their trust in God, finances are not a source of fear, they are a sacred space to demonstrate faithfulness to the Lord as His steward. Faith does not blur reason, it elevates it. Faith allows us to see beyond the limits of logic. It empowers us to perceive opportunity where others only see risk. It moves us to take the first step even when the path is unclear. As one faithful financial advisor once said, "I own nothing, everything belongs to God. I'm just managing what He has entrusted to me." This mindset frees us from the fear of loss. When you understand that you're a manager, not an owner, your focus shifts from clinging to assets to cultivating increase. You invest wisely, not just for personal gain, but for a kingdom purpose. Remember the parable of the talents, Matthew chapter 25. 2 servants were praised for using what the master gave them to produce more. But the third, paralyzed by fear, buried his opportunity, and was rebuked for it. God does not give us gifts and opportunities so we can bury them in fear. He calls us to act, not out of greed, but out of faithful obedience. Faith is not the absence of risk, it is stepping forward in the midst of risk, believing that God controls the outcome. John Maxwell. You don't need to see the entire road ahead, you only need to take the first faithful step. Because God isn't looking for your brilliance, He's looking for your obedience. And if you're faithful with little, He will set you over much. Practical application. Store in times of plenty, distribute in times of need. This financial strategy isn't some modern hack, it's a sacred principle, carved into God's Word thousands of years ago. Remember the story of Joseph, who interpreted Pharaoh's dream and prophesied that Egypt would face 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of devastating famine, Genesis chapter 41. And it was the preparation during prosperity that saved an entire nation from destruction. Today, that lesson still holds immeasurable value. When the economy is growing, markets are booming, contracts are pouring in, and profits are plentiful, that is not the time to spend recklessly or waste resources. That is the time to save. That is the time to build reserves. That is the time to invest in a solid foundation. The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. Proverbs chapter 22 sentence 3. So what should you do? Checkmark. Build an emergency fund covering at least 6 to 12 months of operating expenses. Checkmark. Reallocate profits into stable, long-term investments. Checkmark. Eliminate extravagant spending that doesn't serve your long-term mission. Checkmark. Train your team and upgrade your systems, so you'll be ready when storms hit. Because when the financial storm comes, the unprepared will panic, but the strategic will rise. Emergency funds and strategic reinvestment. When it rains, those who brought an umbrella keep walking. Those who didn't, just seek shelter. One of the wisest financial principles in business management, especially for leaders of faith, is to build a rainy day fund before the storm clouds gather. It's not a matter of if a crisis comes, but when. And when it does, those with financial reserves will be the ones still in control. Be disciplined. Every time your business earns a profit, set aside at least 10 to 20% into a reserve fund. This fund is not for expansion. It's not for indulgent spending. It exists solely for times of hardship, when difficulty knocks at the door. At the same time, reinvest strategically into your core strengths. Your people, your systems, your products, and your customer experience, the elements that shape long-term competitive advantage. When others are panicking, the wise are investing. Warren Buffett. History proves it. In every crisis, there are companies that don't just survive, they emerge stronger. They're not paralyzed by fear, because they prepared in faith and acted with strategy. While competitors shrink, they innovate. While others lay off, they recruit talent. While markets tremble, they create new value. That's not luck. That's wisdom born of faith in action. Holding fast to faith and vision. In the end, doing business in a crisis is not merely a numbers game, it's a test of the soul. When everything around you shakes, you must stand firm. When the market grows dim, you must see clearly. When others turn back, you must move forward. Because a true leader doesn't lead only with sight, but with faith and vision. Where there is no vision, the people perish. Proverbs chapter 29 sentence 18, KJV. Keep your direction clear. Remind yourself, and your team, why you started, what mission you're on, and who placed you in this position not to fear, but to lead. Every crisis is a test of vision and commitment. Do you truly believe in God's promise? Do you truly see your work as a sacred calling? If so, keep going. Unshaken, unyielding. Because the strength and wealth you've been given aren't for show, they are for blessing expansion. So that you can become a source of inspiration, a provider, and a beacon of hope for others. Keep walking. Because just ahead lies the harvest, reserved for those who remained faithful in the drought. AITH is the power that overcomes crisis. When you build your career on faith, you're not building on sand, you're building on rock. Storms may come, but that foundation will keep you standing firm. Remember, a crisis is just one chapter in a greater story. God never stops at the trial, He uses the trial to lift you higher. Don't chase wealth, let wealth chase you. When you chase the mission God has given you. With unshakable faith, you don't just survive a crisis, you lead others out of the darkness. Stand up. Take action. Invest, not just with money, but with faith. Ask yourself, where is your trust anchored? In the unstable market, or in the one who never changes? In times of crisis, what truly drives your decisions, fear or mission? If you truly believe that God is your unlimited source, then what is holding you back from investing boldly in the vision He placed in your heart? Will you keep burying the resources God has given you out of fear of loss? Or will you step out of your comfort zone and multiply them for His kingdom? The most successful people aren't those who avoid crisis, they're the ones who leverage it as a launchpad. They see what others can't see. They hear God's voice amidst the noise of the market. They keep walking when everyone else stops. And so can you. Imagine this. If you lived and led as if God were walking with you in every decision, what would you do differently today? What would you invest in? Who would you forgive? What mission would you finally pursue that you've delayed because of fear? The world doesn't need more wealthy people, it needs more faith-filled leaders. Leaders who understand that wealth is a tool, not a goal. Leaders who will stand in the storm, point to heaven, and declare, "The Lord is my source, I will not fear." So don't just wait for the storm to pass. Learn to dance in the rain. Don't just wish for the crisis to end, let it forge your vision, your courage, and your faithfulness. This is your moment. Not to shrink back, but to rise up. Not to hold back, but to sow generously. Not to wait for a miracle, but to be the miracle for someone else. Because when faith leads the way, prosperity is no longer a destination, it becomes the natural result. Live boldly. Believe fully. Act as though God Himself has given you the power to transform the world, starting with the domain you oversee. And He absolutely has. God doesn't give His faith to sit still, He gives His faith to move. Great missions aren't for the hesitant, they're for those who, like Peter, dare to step out onto the waters, even while the storm still rages. Let this crisis be the time you build not just wealth, but legacy. A legacy of faith, leadership, and servant-hearted impact. The world is longing for a new generation of entrepreneurs, not those who merely count profits, but those who count eternal value. Faith doesn't deny reality, it sees through it, into the future God has already written. Be bold. Be wise. Be faithful. Because when you walk by faith, every financial decision becomes an act of worship to your Creator. And then, you won't just overcome the crisis. You'll change the game. Hank you an invitation to stay connected, Faith 7 Business. Thank you for spending your precious time with us here at Faith 7 Business, where faith becomes action. And every business becomes part of God's greater plan. If something in today's message stirred your heart, an idea, an encouragement, a spark in the midst of the storm, know this, it wasn't by accident. That's a calling, and your journey is just beginning. Seedling, don't keep what you've received to yourself. Share this channel with someone you know who needs light in a time of crisis. Fire, don't walk this path alone. Stay with us in the episodes to come, where we'll dive deeper into building kingdom-minded businesses with unshakable faith, sharp strategy, and a heart to serve. Right finger hit follow so you won't miss a thing. Right finger drop a comment, share your story, or ask the questions burning in your heart, because here, you're not just a viewer, you're part of a faith-driven leadership community. Faith 7 Business isn't just a channel, it's a movement. And we believe your business can become a powerful extension of God's hand in this generation. See you in the next episodes, where we don't just talk about surviving challenges, but about leading through them. Live boldly, believe deeply, act courageously, because all of heaven is backing you. And yes, He truly is.